Before we begin, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below. Your support helps us create more amazing psychology content for you. Now, let's get started. They replaced you, but it didn't feel the same psychology script. They thought replacing you would fix everything. In their mind, the problem was simple. You were the issue, the missing piece, the complication in their life that needed to be removed. And once you were gone, they believed everything would finally feel right again. At first, it even seemed like they were correct. The silence after you left gave them a strange sense of control. No more arguments, no more emotional intensity, no more moments that forced them to confront their own flaws. Felt lighter, easier. And then, almost too quickly, someone else stepped into your place. A new face, a new energy, a new beginning. From the outside, it looked perfect. Like they had moved on effortlessly. Like you were just a chapter they had closed without hesitation. But what people don't see is what happens after the excitement fades. Because here's the truth about human psychology. People don't actually replace people. They replace roles, routines, and emotional patterns. But the emotional imprint you leave on someone's mind, that cannot be duplicated. It lingers in subtle, almost invisible ways. The way you used to laugh at their jokes, even the bad ones. The way you understood their silence without needing words. The way your presence felt familiar, safe, and real. These are things that cannot simply be recreated by inserting someone new into the same space. So even though everything looks similar on the surface, something deep inside feels off. Not wrong enough to panic immediately, but different enough to create discomfort. First, they ignore it. They convince themselves that this new connection just needs time. After all, everything is fresh. It's not supposed to feel as deep as what they had with you, at least not yet. But time has a way of revealing truths that distractions try to hide. The more they spend time with this new person, the more they start noticing the differences. Conversations don't flow the same way. The emotional reactions feel slightly misaligned. Moments that should feel meaningful somehow feel empty. And this is where the mind begins to compare, even when they don't want it to. Not consciously at first, but subtly, quietly, in the background. Psychologically, this happens because of something called emotional conditioning. When you spend a significant amount of time with someone, your brain wires itself to associate certain feelings, reactions, and experiences with that person. You become their emotional reference point. So when someone new comes along, the brain doesn't just reset. It tries to map the new experience onto the old emotional blueprint. And when it doesn't match, the brain sends a signal. Something is missing. This isn't the same. And that realization can be uncomfortable, even unsettling, because it challenges the belief that they made the right decision. This is when nostalgia begins to creep in. Not the kind of nostalgia that is loud and obvious, but the quiet kind. The kind that shows up in random moments. A song that reminds them of you. A place that suddenly feels different without your presence. A joke that the new person doesn't understand the way you used to. These small triggers start to build up over time, creating a contrast between what they have now and what they once had. And the more this contrast grows, the harder it becomes to ignore. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Even if they don't consciously admit it, their behavior begins to change. They might start expecting the new person to react the way you did. To understand them the way you did. To fill the emotional gaps that only you once filled. And when that doesn't happen, frustration builds. Not necessarily because the new person is doing anything wrong, but because they are not you. And that's something no one can replicate. This creates a subtle emotional disconnect that can slowly weaken the new connection. At the same time, their ego steps in to protect them. Admitting that they miss you or that things don't feel the same would mean accepting that they might have made a mistake. And the human ego hates being wrong. So instead of facing that truth, they might double down on their decision. They might try harder to make the new relationship work. They might convince themselves that everything is fine. But deep down, the feeling doesn't go away. It stays there, quietly reminding them that something important is no longer there. And this is where the concept of emotional absence becomes powerful. When you were in their life, your presence filled certain emotional spaces. Your absence doesn't just remove you, it creates a void. And that void has a unique shape, one that only you could fill. No matter how many people come into their life, that specific space remains unfilled. It's like trying to replace a missing piece of a puzzle with something that almost fits, but not quite. From a distance, the picture might look complete. But up close, the difference is obvious. Over time, this realization can lead to a shift in perspective. They might start remembering you differently. The flaws that once seemed so significant begin to fade, while the positive memories become more prominent. This is a psychological effect known as memory bias, where the mind reshapes past experiences based on current emotions. And when their present doesn't feel as fulfilling as expected, the past starts to look better than it actually was. This can create a sense of regret, even if they don't openly express it. But here's the most important part of this entire process. Just because they replaced you doesn't mean they replaced what you meant to them. Those are two completely different things. People can move on physically, socially, even romantically. But emotionally, that's a much more complex process. The emotional connections we form are not easily erased. They become part of our internal world, influencing how we think, feel, and relate to others long after the relationship has ended. So while they may continue moving forward, building new connections and creating new experiences, a part of their mind will always carry the imprint of what they had with you. Not necessarily in a way that controls them, but in a way that quietly shapes their perception of future relationships. Because once you've experienced something real, something deeply connected, it becomes the standard against which everything else is measured.